Hello and welcome to the Health Advocate. I am Matt Dinsmore and I'm with a fellow health advocate, and that is Anthony Welti off to my left, who's running for the Office of the Insurance Commissioner for 2020. Campaign starts early.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you've been driving around all across Washington. You've landed here in Spokane, and tell me what's your background and why did you decide to run for the Office of Insurance Commissioner?
Yeah, well, insurance is something that affects everybody, whether it's your health insurance, your car insurance, your small business insurance, right? So it's something that's not talked about a lot, but it affects everybody. But specifically healthcare in this country, in this state specifically, and insurance behind it is brutal. It's brutally expensive to get claims approved, to get medications approved, to have the type of coverage you want or deductible you want. It's not a fun environment. And I'm one that likes to serve, likes to help people, likes to educate people on things, and I just want to be part of the solution.
Were you in the insurance industry before, or what was your exposure?
Yeah, so I have a background in like home and auto and life insurance and things of that nature. But Obamacare is what kind of first turned me political back in 2008.
Okay.
And, just seeing how things changed in the healthcare industry over the last, 10, 12 years.
So probably your unique position as an insurance agent, and then, just being exposed to that, you kind of saw behind the curtain, if you will, maybe from multiple different perspectives, from the consumer perspective, from the agent's perspective, from...
Yeah, I think I bring a wide breadth of experience in that regard. But the main thing that I think is important is, I'm an average guy. I had an average insurance policy. I had a normal doctor like everybody else. I've lived this just like everybody else has.
Yeah.
And it's affected me personally. My wife lost her health insurance policy, and coincidentally, my toddler, or 3-month-old at the time, lost his health insurance policy.
Okay.
And I found that story was very common as I started getting involved in politics and healthcare reform.
So what does the Office of Insurance Commissioner do?
Yeah.
Anyway,
So that's a great question, actually, because most people don't know what it does.
Yeah.
The Office of Insurance Commissioner is a regulatory body. It's not a legislative position, but essentially they're a consumer protection agency. They're there to make sure insurance companies follow the law and that consumers aren't filing false insurance claims. They approve rates, they approve policy changes, they work with RCWs, and basically it's a giant bureaucracy in Olympia.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a super boring position to the general public, but again, it's something that affects everybody.
Sure.
So I've had a lot of fun really just educating people like yourself that maybe don't have as much experience in insurance.
Yeah. Okay, so with this not being, it's technically not a political position, right? You don't have to declare whether you're Republican, Democrat, or do you?
You do,
Oh, okay.
and I wish you didn't. I don't think it makes sense that you need to declare a party preference for something
To be a
like
legislative,
insurance.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm running as a libertarian. It is a political position, and I'm glad to not be part of the two-party system that's created the mess that we have.
Sure. What is different about the Libertarian versus some of the other political parties? What sets it apart? What is it? Yeah.
Well, a libertarian is somebody that believes in, kind of things like, socially liberal from the perspective of, gay marriage, marijuana rights, but then fiscally conservative. So smaller government, less spending, more freedom.
Okay.
So I like running as a libertarian because I can genuinely reach across both aisles and build bridges where they might just be fighting and bickering with one another.
Interesting. Yeah, you kind of play in both pools in that way.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's how things used to be before we got so partisan in the sense that we are now. So I hope to bring some new ideas to the table and to really work with both parties.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a question that maybe affects us as consumers, getting health insurance. And just recently, for those of you who don't know, but in October, we found out that health insurance rates were going to go down this year, about 3.25%. What the average consumer may not know is since 2015, health insurance rates have gone up 66%, even when you account for that 3.25% decrease, right? Now, the current Office of Insurance Commissioner says, hey, we're moving in the right direction, but we have a long way to go, to be fair. And but what I found is when I was looking at it, and I'm just kind of a layman, a nurse practitioner, and I'm like, oh, this is really interesting, but a general layman when it comes to health insurance stuff. And what I found was that the process goes something like this. An insurance agency comes in and says, hey, we want our rate to be this, to change this amount up or down or whatever, we're going to charge this. The Office of the Insurance Commissioner then reviews that, and they say, this is what you're going to charge. in 6 out of 13 instances, the Office of Insurance Commissioner said you actually have to charge more than what you're declaring, than what you want to charge, which to me seems kind of weird. Like from a capitalist perspective, right, it's up to these insurance companies are probably submitting rates that are going to be profitable for them, I would assume. So why is the Office of Insurance Commissioner saying, no, you got to charge more? What consumer protection is happening there?
Well, I think they try to take an equality standpoint on things, but the problem is we're not guaranteed equal outcomes when we pursue our life, liberty, and happiness, right?
Sure.
No two companies are the same. No two companies' values are the same. No two people are the same. And yes, the state insurance commissioner has a ton of regulatory power over what rate somebody charges, whether it's higher rates or lower rates.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'd like to change. I believe that that's a form of price manipulation. And if you had two companies working with each other in that respect, it'd be highly illegal. And they'd find themselves in court. But when the government does it, somehow it's allowable. I'm one of the type of people that I like a true free market system. Not crony capitalism that we have today, but a true free market capitalism system where you, the consumer, are in charge of what you purchase and why. And if you're a business owner, you're in charge of what you sell and why. And the prices are up to you and the consumer, not you, the consumer, and the government.
Do you feel like, so as a consumer protector, right, and being an agent and knowing how confusing health insurance is, do you feel like the average person could go to an open market and effectively choose a safe health insurance, get what they think they're getting? Or do you think the insurance companies could easily dupe them into saying, hey, it's going to cover everything, and it turns out branded medication wasn't covered, and the person didn't know even to ask that? Do you feel like if you really open it up like that, are we making consumers vulnerable in an industry that's very complicated?
I think you're right. I think it is very complicated. It's not as simple as buying an apple at the grocery store. But I think government's made it that way. The top-down mandates, the regulations, the way policies work, that's all government controlled. So when we look at this situation, we say, okay, well, that's not going to be healthy, that's not going to be safe. The reason why it's gotten that way is because the people in power have made it that way. So what I want to do is I want to diversify the market. I want to expose the bad actors. The insurance companies are taking advantage of people that are writing poor insurance plans by allowing more competition into the market, so you can have more choice and more flexibility. Now, there is no utopia. Medicare for all, Obamacare, free market, none of it's going to have perfect outcomes always. My goal as a consumer protection is to give you the most choice and the most knowledge possible to do what's right for your family, not what I think is right for your family.
Sure. Well, there's kind of a lot of talk about price transparency. I mean, always, but specifically because Trump signed an executive order a few months ago saying, hey, hospitals now have to kind of post their pricing. And there's kind of two sides of the argument. One, people are saying, hey, because of capitalism, this is going to drive down pricing because we're going to increase competition, and consumers are going to be able to choose because they're going to know how much that ultrasound is going to cost at one hospital versus another, if they could navigate that in a simple way. The other side is that this is going to cause a price ceiling. So when hospital A sees hospital B charging more, hospital A is going to say, well, I'm going to match what hospital B is charging. And now we have all these prices going up. What side of the fence do you land on in regards to price transparency, good or bad?
Well, price transparency is great. Anytime you can go into a place and see the sticker price, the MSRP, that's great. The problem is, especially in an emergency situation where you have a surgery pop up or a brain aneurysm or a cancer or whatever the case may be, there are hundreds of different factors that come into play. There is no way to be transparent. So while I appreciate the efforts of President Trump to do this price transparency bill, I don't believe it's going to have the intended outcome that he thinks it will. And what I mean by that is if you go in for a service of some sort, that price is going to vary from insurance company to insurance company, right? Because the insurance company and the hospital, their contracts change from company to company to company. So you and I could go into the same hospital for the same service, but if you have Aetna and I have Premera, the sticker price on the window isn't what either one of us are going to pay. So again, it's a well-intended legislation, but it's not going to work the way that we wish it would. So some things that we could do. I want to see a la carte insurance policies. Okay.
What does that mean?
So a la carte, right?
I
So
can pick
you go to the buffet line and you pick the coverages that you want.
Okay.
Okay. And when you do that, and you can have policies more tailored to specific needs, typical things that a family might usually want for coverage, you'll get to pick and choose based on price points more.
So
And
a 50-year-old male may not want maternity coverage. They don't have to purchase that portion of it.
Exactly.
Something like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, men and women need different things. My 4-year-old and his 60-year-old grandmother don't need the same thing.
Right.
Right? So instead of trying to use one-size-fits-all mandates for things, let's celebrate that diversity like we do in every other aspect of our lives.
So would you have like, I don't know, would you have like a Primera hospital plan and an Assurus primary care and a different pharmacy, or you would encourage like Primera to come up with these a la carte plans that you could choose?
Yeah, I would want to encourage. I don't believe government should use a stick to make this kind of thing happen. I want to make it as easy as possible so it could happen naturally and organically. And the thing is, right, so there's this rhetoric that insurance companies are greedy, right? Insurance companies want to make as much money as you can. They want to profit off your sickness, right? We've heard those talking points. Well, let's use that to our advantage, okay? If they are in fact greedy, let's give them something to be greedy about. Let's create regulations that allow them to come out with new product types. And I guarantee you, you will have 5 or 10 new products come out. But right now they can't. They legally cannot come out with an a la carte policy. So if I want coverage for chiropractic, maybe I like CBD medication versus opioids, right? I want a policy designed to cover that type of care. You can't. You cannot have a policy that offers that. And I believe if we allow that to happen, price transparency will happen naturally and organically.
Sure. Well, that's really interesting. There'd be there's just a lot of moving parts with that.
Yep.
I mean, do you think, the TV industry can't even do it, offer a la carte, right? I can't just get HBO and CBS or whatever, and then like, that's all I want. They're like, no, you got to buy this entire package, because we kind of want what I wonder is like, because we want those in the insurance realm, would insurance companies then just try to cherry pick healthy people who carry less risk, and then they would offer products for unhealthy people who have a lot of chronic conditions, and maybe some of it's genetic, they have no control over it. It's not about diet and lifestyle modifications, but they have care that's more expensive. Would those people then be priced out of it for conditions that they have no control over?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
They probably would be. But the flip side of that, what's happened is there's still a market for insurance for those people that are being priced out by other companies. And that's where we can talk about, okay, if insurance companies are in fact greedy, I guarantee you somebody's going to want those customers. And they're going to come out with a product that they value.
Yeah.
Because that's capitalism, and that's what every company does around the world.
Yeah.
They want to sell something to you, and if they want to do that, they have to bring value to your life.
Sure. Yes, at a reasonable price. Like, somebody's got to be able to look at that and say, okay, well, that price is reasonable. That's not always happening. But.
With the cable analogy that you made, I think that's a great analogy of why overregulation is bad. Right now, you have really two primary, in Washington anyways, cable companies, Comcast and Frontier. So they can dictate that you must buy everything and you can't buy a la carte. But imagine if there's 12 more cable companies.
Might be a different game.
They would be a different game. You have Hulu, you have Netflix, you have now you can buy a la carte online, so you can have CBS.com, you have HBO.com for $6 or $7 a month. So there are free market solutions that people are using. That's why you hear the phrase "cutting the cord."
Yeah.
Is it new? Yeah, it is new, right? My grandma doesn't get it because she's of a different generation.
Right.
But allowing that flexibility in all aspects of business, you will see the good companies and the good solutions will rise to the top, and the bad ones will go away because they're failing and nobody wants to associate with them.
Right. Well, to be fair to your grandma, she probably can't remember the 6 different passwords she'd have to remember if you do the a la carte system here.
She'd probably use the same one for all 6 and get hacked, and then I'd have to help her out. But
I forget my passwords too. So yeah. Well, really great. Well, kind of switching roles here a little bit. I know that you've talked about taxes when it comes to health insurance. What is going on there? Where are we vulnerable as consumers? What's happening?
Yeah, so one of the things that you hear in the media right now is affordable health care. We want things to be as affordable as possible.
Yeah.
Okay? Great. Who doesn't, right? yet government takes a cut. So they say they want something to be affordable, yet they're still taking their piece of the pie. Okay. Now, my general philosophy is this: we shouldn't be taxed by the government to have something that is necessary for our lives or keeps us alive. Okay. So healthcare itself is taxed. Doctors are taxed. Okay. They're taxed on their income tax. They're taxed on their B&O tax. They're taxed on their liability insurance policies for their business. You're taxed on your health insurance plan. The glasses you buy for your eyewear, those are taxed. Your pharmaceuticals are taxed. The medical devices a hospital use, those are all taxed. Just at the federal level, medical devices, health insurance plans, and pharmaceuticals are taxed about $18 billion last year.
Wow.
That's $18 billion in additional cost for the American consumer that is going to the federal government for God knows what. I would like to remove that and immediately reduce the cost of healthcare in this country.
Okay. Yeah, just on tax alone. Interesting. And does it seem to be hitting, you said businesses more so because of all the B&O and health insurance they're getting and things along those lines?
Yeah, so let's say you're a small family medical office. Maybe you've got 2 doctors, a receptionist, a biller, and a scheduler, right? So you maybe got 5, 6 employees.
Yeah.
You're paying increased B&O taxes on each and every one of those employees. That went up in this past legislative cycle.
Yeah. Oh.
Hospitals didn't see an increase in tax. Okay. Small medical providers did. So that means your mom and pop pediatrician, your mom and pop chiropractor, your mom and pop dentist office are seeing higher B&O taxes to stay afloat.
Yeah.
What happens when they see higher taxes? They either go out of business, they switch to a different type of career, or they raise their prices.
Right.
So again, we talk about affordable healthcare, but yet every step of the way, government is artificially increasing the cost of care.
Which then probably leads to, if you have decreased profitability, you're starting to look for other options. So now you have big hospital groups that are more likely to buy out the remaining, mom
Kaiser
and pop shops
Permanente, Everett Clinic, and great organizations. They serve a purpose, especially in metropolitan areas where you need to see high volumes of folks.
Yes.
And even in rural areas where you maybe need a new medical facility, those are great businesses.
Yeah.
Some people want to go to their same mom and pop doctor that they've been going to for 20 years.
Sure. Yeah. Interesting. What other things are going on in realms of healthcare that you think consumers should be aware of or looking out for? We're kind of going into open enrollment, and so it's on.
How about we abolish open enrollment periods? So, people lose their insurance all the time.
Yeah.
I've been seeing this from a lot of, presidential candidates running for office right now. Okay, if you lose your job, whether it be because you get fired or change a career or start a new business and you lose your health insurance, you can't go buy a new plan the next day.
Right.
You can if you go through the COBRA insurance, which, God, last time I looked at that was probably 10 years ago, and that was $600 a month back then. Okay. Why does the government want us to wait to buy health insurance until November or December or January? If I lose a job in March, why can't I buy it in April?
Yeah, sure. It should be qualifying open. Well, I'm assuming it's to help float the system, right? Because you need people to not just jump on when they're sick and then get off when they're healthy, right?
Which brings up a good point. Pre-existing conditions, it used to be covered because it was a non-issue. And then people would stop buying health insurance year-round and wait till the last possible second.
Sure.
And that's when health insurance companies said, well, you haven't been paying into this for 3 or 4 years like your neighbor has been.
Yes.
We can't cover that claim for you.
Yeah.
So there was some natural consumer action that created the pre-existing conditions coverage.
Right.
If we allow people to buy insurance when they need it, you will find companies that will sell policies that people want.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Sure.
And getting rid of open enrollment is basic freedom. I should be able to buy insurance whenever I want, and so should you.
Yeah, sure.
So I'd love to abolish healthcare open enrollment periods. I just think they're absurd. Pharmaceuticals. This is a big one for me.
Okay.
We pay far too much for pharmaceutical medications.
Sure.
The FDA can increase costs on any pharmaceutical drug $1, $2, $3, $4 billion to get a new medication approved. Rough reports is 1 out of 5,000 drugs come to market. Okay.
Oh, my gosh.
I'd like to see us be able to import drugs from any other major company or major country.
Yeah.
so that we could, again, create competition and drive down prices. If I want to order medication from Japan on Amazon with 2-day Prime shipping for a fraction of the cost of what I can get it at Walgreens, I should be able to.
Yeah, sure. As long as you have a prescription?
I would abolish prescription laws as well.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
So I got a bill in the mail yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
It was only a $30 bill. I had already paid $30. But what had happened was I was out of asthma medication.
Yeah.
My prescription had run out. My health hasn't changed. I know my health. It's only been a year since I got my prescription.
Sure.
I had to go to the doctor's office to get a note so I could go get another prescription for the exact same thing that I already knew I needed.
Sure.
The total bill for that, it took an hour out of my day from work.
Yeah.
So that's an hour of lost productivity. And the total bill to insurance, including what I paid, was $176.
Wow. Yeah.
This is for a note for a prescription that I already knew I needed.
Sure.
Birth control. Birth control should be over the counter. Woman knows her body, women's rights. She should be able to buy birth control at Rite Aid, Walgreens without a doctor's note. Now, the pharmacist, if they want to have a slow the process down, have a conversation, talk about risks and benefits, I would encourage that and empower that.
Okay.
But why should we burden the medical system with a routine type of prescription?
Sure.
That hasn't changed in a decade. Eyeglasses, same thing. Okay, sure, your prescription might change a little bit from decade to decade.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's probably good to go once every 5 or 10 years, maybe every year, that's up to you.
Yeah.
But why do we have to go spend $100 at the eye doctor to get a doctor's note to go get eyeglasses?
Sure.
This is America.
Yeah.
If I want birth control, if I want asthma medication, if I want eyeglasses, the government shouldn't mandate that I get a permission slip to obtain those products. And if we remove that, we will see a reduced cost.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much, Anthony, for being on the show today. Best of luck on the campaign trail to you. And thank you for you listeners, viewers, for tuning in. And please stay tuned next week for the next episode of The Health Advocate. I'm Matt Dinsmore, signing out.
Cool. Thanks, Matt.
I love Spokane. It's where I've raised my family and run our business. But lately, I don't recognize it. Crime and open drug use take more of our city and our citizens every day. But it's not too late. I'm Cindy Wendell. I'm running for Spokane City Council President because it's time to set aside political agendas and start putting people first. Join me on November 5th. Together, we can fix the problems we face instead of ignoring them. I'm Cindy Wendell, and I approve this message.
Spokane Realtors are dedicated to helping you find the right place to live. We're more than 2,000 strong, small business men and women guiding you through this most important purchase. We're also your neighbors, giving back thousands in volunteer hours to make our community a better place. We believe owning a home helps you live longer, with stronger families and better neighborhoods. That's who we are, ready to help you find your way home. Call one today.
On the season premiere of Northwest Profiles, we make a special visit to the Hutton Settlement in Spokane. It opened as an alternative to an orphanage in 1919, built by an orphan who struck it rich in Idaho's Silver Valley. Turns out it wasn't in a mine, but at the end of this road where Levi Hutton found the treasure of his life.
While it may look like a magical campus, the life-changing things that happen here are real.
Northwest Profiles, coming soon on KSBS.
Ask the host a question, recommend a guest, or hear this program again on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com.